Good morning. Welcome to the Fostering an Innovative Mindset for Manufacturers webinar today. Today's webinar is being sponsored by the U.S. Economic Development Administration. My name is Rich Joyce, and I will be your host. Today, I'm being joined by Dr. Meredith Hanley, Dr. Jessica Minold, and Dr. Matt Parkinson, all from Penn State University's College of Engineering. Before we begin the webinar, let's answer today's trivia question. There are currently 15 centers and outreach locations located across Pennsylvania for the Small Business Development Center. To find the one that's local to you, you can see their website at pasbdc.org. I have a few quick items of business to cover prior to starting the presentation. First, if you have any technical difficulties accessing, hearing the presentation, use the chat pad and we'll try to correct them promptly. This presentation will last approximately 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a question and answer period. We'll wait to answer any specific questions until that time to allow us to move through the material efficiently. If you have questions after the webinar is over, please send them to us via email at pentap@psu.edu. This webinar is being recorded and will also be loaded on the PennTap website at a later date. You will receive a follow-up email notifying you when it's available. We are very excited today to have three wonderful guest presenters for today's webinar. Our first contributor is Dr. Meredith Hanley. Dr. Hanley is an associate teaching professor at Penn State University and the associate director for the Engineering Leadership Development Program. Dr. Hanley's research efforts have focused on engineering leadership education, training, and development for early career engineers, specifically in areas of interpersonal skill development, managerial coaching, and career development. She has developed online courses for the Engineering Leadership and Innovation Management Graduate Certification for Penn State University's World Campus and has delivered webinar series for corporate audiences. Dr. Hanley also oversees the curriculum for the Undergraduate Engineering Leadership Development minor. Our second contributor is Dr. Jessica Minold. Dr. Minold is an associate professor at the School of Engineering Design and Innovation and the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Penn State. She is the director of the Technology and Human Resource in Engineering Design Lab and conducts research at the intersection of engineering design, manufacturing, and new product development. Her current work focuses on improving the efficiency and effectiveness of new product development processes, integrating design thinking into engineering education, identifying the factors that contribute to or detract from the success of high-tech startups, and design for inspection in advanced manufacturing environments. Her work is dedicated to improving the design of engineered products and systems through evidence-based design methods, rapid prototyping, and performance analysis. Dr. Minold's work is supported by the U.S. National Science Foundation and the U.S. Air Force Office of Scientific Research. She is also the Associate Director for Outreach and Inclusion at the Learning Factory, Penn State's Makerspace. Our third contributor is Dr. Matt Parkinson. Dr. Parkinson is a professor in the School of Engineering Design and Innovation and the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Penn State University. His research efforts in the Open Design Lab focus on artifacts, tasks, and environments which are robust to human variability. His work is reflected in a number of commercial products and design standards adopted by ISO, BIFMA, and HFES. He is a Penn State Teaching Fellow and has received numerous teaching and research awards. Dr. Parkinson serves as the director of the Penn State Learning Factory, the makerspace for the College of Engineering. In that role, he coordinates approximately 240 multidisciplinary sponsored senior capstone projects each year. My name is Rich Joyce, and I am the Southeast Pennsylvania Technical Advisor for PennTap. I spent 20 years working as an entrepreneur and small business owner in the manufacturing sector prior to joining PennTap 2.5 years ago. I am an MBA and a certified Six Sigma Green Belt. When I'm not working and looking for resources for Pennsylvania businesses, I enjoy spending time with my family and restoring classic cars. This webinar is being presented in conjunction with the Global Entrepreneurship Week at Penn State, which is managed by the Penn State Small Business Development Center, to celebrate relationships between members of the Penn State University and local entrepreneurial communities. Join us for in-person and virtual presentations, workshops, and networking opportunities geared specifically to local entrepreneurs, small businesses, startups, and innovators. A schedule of events can be found on the web address provided. The agenda for today, we will briefly discuss PennTap services. I will then turn it over to our guest speakers who will discuss design thinking tools and how they foster an innovative mindset among leaders within the manufacturing sector. and we will close with a question and answer session. So now a little bit about PennTap. As a land-grant university, Penn State's mission is to provide citizens of the Commonwealth with access to teaching, research, and services. The Pennsylvania Technical Assistance Program, known as PennTap, serves this mission as a statewide grant-funded organization housed within the Office of Industrial Partnerships at Penn State. We're charged with supporting Pennsylvania manufacturers, entrepreneurs, and economic development agencies through direct technical assistance and connections to university resources. We began this work almost 60 years ago as one of the nation's first technical assistance programs. Our work is aligned with the Penn State strategic plan for ensuring sustainable future and the missions to stimulate statewide economic development through university outreach and engagement. PennTap has a diverse staff with backgrounds in chemical engineering, electrical engineering, environmental science, manufacturing, entrepreneurship, and community and economic development. Our staff includes 3 certified energy managers, a certified water efficiency professional, a professional geologist, a lead green associate, and several Six Sigma green belts. PennTap engages in a regional approach to providing resources to the business community of Pennsylvania. This approach allows our technical advisors to immerse themselves into a region and learn more about the communities we work with the goal of developing strong relationships in economic development partners, communities, and local industry. PennTap is a statewide technical assistance organization charged with supporting Pennsylvania businesses and anchor institutions. That includes manufacturers, educational institutions, entrepreneurs, and economic development agencies. As we began this work almost 60 years ago, we are a complete energy efficiency and pollution prevention assessments for manufacturers and small businesses throughout the state. Our E3 assessments will combine the E2, P2 with the continuous improvement session as well. We are also assisting a small cohort of clients become ISO 50001 ready. Our innovation services assist clients with product and process development and connect them to a myriad of resources available through Penn State, including faculty and students and our network of statewide resource partners. I am proud to say that the work we do at PennTap aligns with 9 of the 17 UN sustainability goals. At our core, our services serve to support industry, innovation, and infrastructure. PennTap does this by educating Pennsylvania manufacturers and Penn State students on energy efficiency and pollution prevention measures, which leads to clean water and helps keep energy affordable. Our innovation and green services allow for economic growth and ensure the communities that our clients serve in can thrive in a sustainable manner. We promote responsible consumption and production at the facilities we visit, which will reduce the carbon footprint of the facility. And connecting clients to our network of statewide resource partners ensures that they have the support they need to continue to grow in a sustainable manner. PennTap's wide range of resource partners bring different tool sets to complement PennTap's suite of services. Our resource partners include small business development centers, industrial resource centers, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, local development districts, the Strategic Early Warning Network, as well as others. With technical advisors in every region of the state, PennTap can make personal connections to the economic development representatives working in every region. In 2022, PennTap helped Pennsylvania small businesses achieve $11.4 million in economic benefits across 40 counties within Pennsylvania. We educated over 1,000 individuals and saved or created 85 jobs. We are proud to say that 60% of our cases in 2022 were in environmental justice areas. So now I would like to turn the presentation over to our guest presenters, Dr. Meredith Hanley, Dr. Jessica Minogue, and Dr. Matt Parkinson.
Thank you, Rich, and welcome everyone to this webinar today. And this webinar is giving you information on a micro-credential that we're going to be offering later in the year on design thinking, and just to kind of give you a taste of it. And our micro-credential program is something that I'm co-leading here in the College of Engineering to support short course, to develop short courses to support upskilling and reskilling and professional development for non-technical concepts and technical concepts for engineers or technical employees. So we're really excited to be developing this micro-credential program, having experts like Dr. Jessica Minold and Dr. Matt Parkinson share their expertise with the workforce and help develop the workforce. So this webinar is going to be exciting, and one that I think you will make you want to come to our micro-credential that we're offering later in the year. And really just excited to be here, and thank you for your time. So I'll turn it over to Matt and Jess for the presentation.
Thanks, Meg. And thanks also to Rich for having us, and all of you attendees for joining us. Now, Jess and I have quite a bit of experience working with companies on the topic that we're going to share with you today, but we don't know you at all. And boy, we would feel a lot more comfortable if we knew a little bit about you and the kinds of issues that are facing your company. So one thing that would really help us quite a bit is if you could go into the Q&A panel, and instead of posing a question, just toss in there, what's an issue or two that are facing your company right now, or things that are interesting to you that you would hope to get out of this program, even though you don't know very much about it. Any background you could give us about the pressures that you guys are facing would really help us as we try to tune our message a little bit dynamically here on the fly, but also as we talk about things at the end in the questions. So if you could do that right now, or when you get bored during our presentation, or but sometime in the very, very near future, that would be really helpful for us. Thank you.
Great. Well, as Matt said, my name is Jessica Menold. He's Matt Parkinson. We are both professors in engineering at Penn State. And we really are excited to talk to you guys all today. And again, we want to learn more about you. And before we kind of look into your questions, we wanted to talk a little bit about us and why we're excited to bring this micro-credential to you all. And I think, first of all, the thing that's really driving both Matt and myself is that our mission with this micro-credential and with all of these efforts is to really make your company effective through design and innovation. And through this micro-credential, our whole goal is to teach you the state-of-the-art methods in engineering design and innovation management, so that your companies can really remain competitive in kind of an ever increasingly competitive global market. And so that's kind of one of the main goals that's really driving a lot of our efforts here. And so I think it's important to kind of start with what human-centered design thinking, in this work, we're going to call it customer-centered design, because I think that's a lot more approachable and accessible. But what is customer-centered design? And broadly, most people are familiar with human-centered design and design thinking as this really unique, these techniques to kind of discover game-changing insights about your users. And we hear of companies like Apple and, Microsoft using these human-centered design strategies to come up with truly innovative products. And I think what a lot of us think about when we see human-centered design thinking, customer-centered design, starting with empathy, all of these kind of catchphrases and hot topics that we hear so much. A lot of folks think about Post-its, right? Or really silly activities that you're going to engage in that aren't really grounded in any technical matter, or don't make a lot of sense for maybe a more technical company. I'll say personally, like, my dad's a sheet metal worker in, local Union 19 out of Philly. And so when I talk to him about user-centered design or customer-centered design, he's like, what the heck is that? That makes no sense to me. That sounds ridiculous, right? And so I think, partially that is true. Like, if you were to Google design thinking sessions, the first thing you're going to see is a bunch of nice, shiny photos of nice, shiny people in, big, bright rooms with a ton of Post-it notes, right? So yeah, part of it is this idea of these like very shiny looking innovation studios where people are working collaboratively and always smiling and have infinite number of Post-it notes. But I think importantly for a lot of companies throughout PA that are more focused on practical implications, right? It's really just an approach to creative problem solving and decision making. And in particular, it's really useful when you're considering things like product development or process or continuous improvement within your company, or trying to reimagine your customer experience. Importantly, it really can help companies to innovate and really differentiate themselves on a pretty saturated market. And so that's really where we see a lot of the practical benefits of customer-centric design coming into place. And a lot of these innovation management policies is not necessarily in kind of the bright, shiny Post-it notes and the team collaboration, but it's in the practical outcomes of really setting your company apart from your competitors. And there's actually a lot of data to suggest that customer-centered design methods actually help companies outperform. So there was something created in 2016, so it's slightly outdated, but the numbers actually have remained even to 2023, even including today. But there's something called the Design Value Index that was really created to just demonstrate how customer-centered design companies, and so companies that are using customer-centered design methods, outperform the S&P 500. And they have shown over time they outperform the S&P 500 by about 211% in terms of profit, right? Which is a pretty incredible margin. And so I think it's something to take seriously, right? Because we're seeing a lot of financial data to suggest that, you know, using these quote kind of silly methods, or really thinking about your customer, beginning with empathy, can actually lead to really, really important outcomes, which is phenomenal. So I always like to share this example because I think it's tricky to think about, you know, how maybe more tech focused or companies that have more hard products, how they might use customer-centered design. I think typically when we think about customer-centered design, my first thought is software companies, right? So how do we think about this for companies that are developing actual physical products, physical systems, or interacting kind of in these really technical environments? So one example I love is GE, right, which is one of the leading tech companies in the States. And GE Healthcare in particular has a phenomenal example of how they redesigned many of their MRI machines. There's a great TED Talk on this, and I would encourage you guys to look it up. But essentially, there was a huge problem with kids and children who, when they were going to get MRIs, they needed to be sedated because essentially they were so scared of the MRI machines, right? They're pretty scary even for adults. And so instead of spending all this time to redesign a pediatric MRI machine with state-of-the-art technology, they actually just took existing MRI machines and they worked directly with kids. They went to a kindergarten, they went to preschools, they looked at how kids play, and they just came up with these stories about, you know, how these children were gonna, if you look at the bottom left screen, right? Hey, you're going to go on a pirate ship, and the pirate ship was going to start to move. There'll be waves, but you have to stay really still, and you'll see the pirate ship move, right? And so they were actually able to reduce the rate of sedation by over 80%, which practically resulted in a significant cost savings for the hospitals because they didn't have to pay for a specialized pediatric anesthesiologist, right? So there was real financial outcomes associated with this. And Bob Schwartz, a general manager of global design and user experience at GE Healthcare, has a great quote about just design generally, which is, our senior leaders tell me I can measure sales, I can measure revenue, I can measure just about every function in the company, but I can't measure that stuff the design team does. All I know is that every time you do it, our customers see and understand the difference and we sell more stuff. That's value. So to me, that's a really great kind of example of it's sometimes tricky to understand what the direct benefit of these things are, but we're seeing bigger and bigger companies adopt these processes and immediately see impacts in terms of either cost savings or kind of novel product innovations. So what this course is really going to focus on is the fundamentals of customer-centric design, but we do it in a way where we allow you to apply the methods to real problems. So Matt and I's role in the course is really kind of like a Sherpa almost, where we're guiding you up the mountain of design thinking and human-centered design and customer-centric design processes through problems that you're having in your day-to-day lives, or often we see our students use problems that they're having at work. So you know, for example, redesigning the onboarding process for new employees or looking at continuous improvement processes. And so throughout the course, we'll teach you kind of the fundamentals, but then we'll ask you to apply the methods that you're learning to a real problem you're facing in your work lives. And essentially, our readings are going to cover the basics, and assignments really help you to apply these methods, as I just mentioned. So here's a quick screenshot of the course itself. You can kind of see, like, we've broken out the weeks basically with some introductions, into what human-centered design is, what the design thinking process is. And each week has a series of really hands-on assignments where it's not, they're not exams. We're not going to force you to go back to high school, right, and do any form of like exams or anything like that. But instead, you're doing these assignments where you're applying design thinking in your own life. You're getting to do some really engaging kind of activities, working you through the fundamentals, and then you're just kind of reflecting on the outcomes of those activities. So our course, I would say, breaks down into 3 major areas. The first one, as I mentioned, is applications of the methods, and this is really what the modules are going to focus on. This is giving you practical tools to immediately apply in your day-to-day lives, in your work. The second, and I think the biggest, strongest point of the course, Matt and I have, through years and years and years of practicing this work, of doing research in these areas, have a really extensive network of experts in innovation management, in design thinking, in customer-centered design. And we have called upon these experts from around the world to share their experiences and their know-how. So everything from, tech-based founders talking about their startup experiences to, coaches who've trained over 6,000 people and companies in design thinking, talking through common mistakes they see in various aspects of the methodology. So these interviews with experts are integrated throughout the course and really provide you with kind of a unique view and perspective into these processes and how folks are applying them. And then most importantly, we have coaching sessions. And these are really Matt and I's opportunity to, first of all, get to know you guys one-on-one. And secondly, to provide you with personalized feedback about how you're applying the methods, how you might improve your application, other things to consider. We'll also suggest additional methods for you to try. And so this is kind of the major breakdown of the course. So I think, both Matt and I are excited to teach this and are really looking forward to answering some of your questions today about the course itself. But again, I can't state the whole aim of this course is to really get you guys to understand human-centered design from a fundamental level, but really getting you guys to apply the methods and kind of moving forward with some exciting work and applications in your own companies. So happy to answer questions now.
So we have some responses on the kinds of issues that you're facing, and many of them appear to be technical challenges, which is great. What we're really talking about here, and we'll be working on in a very hands-on way through this course, is different creative ways of solving technical problems. And they can be applied in very broad environments and with very different kinds of challenges and outcomes. So I think this aligns well with the kinds of issues that you've put in. Do you have other specific questions that you'd like to put in the Q&A?
Yeah, and I think, Matt, I'll just build upon that. The 2 questions that are in there. So I mean, I see Nick's question, and also Mark's, but I think both of those questions, approaching these problems with just kind of a different mindset is really the benefit of these methods that we'll teach you in the course, which is really just fundamentally a kind of a completely different way to think about the problem and to try and, even with really technical problems, try and think about like what's the end user, what's the purpose of this, why are we doing it, right? Really asking yourself those whys that can help you to rethink your approach. Any other questions or concerns we can talk through?
No, looks like it's a quiet group today. I'm going to share.
Might be time for your poll.
Okay. So I'm going to put a poll up right now. It's a 1-question poll. We'd like to actually, if you would submit the answer. In the meantime, if you do have additional questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. We actually just have a new question from Michael Ward. I'm a senior in statistics with background in electrical engineering. I was wondering how I can improve my manufacturing efficiency when I'm in the field.
Yeah, so I think talking about manufacturing efficiency is great, and it actually aligns really well with this. But I guess one thing I'd ask back is manufacturing efficiency in what sense? Like improving time to produce XYZ, or improving assembly times, or right? I think getting more specific with that, which is what a lot of our things will do, will actually give us a really great plan to help you achieve that. Matt, do you want to add?
No, I think that this is certainly a tractable problem for these kinds of strategies, right? So the how may, in fact, it's almost written perfectly. How may we improve manufacturing efficiency when I'm in the field? And I think there's a lot of opportunities to investigate that and use the methods here. So that's a great problem for it.
And another thing I'll say, this is Meg again, is that in a lot of these, when you're learning this process, you'll also be able to figure out, okay, how, when I'm learning them for myself, but also how am I helping my team utilize these skills as well? How am I fostering this within the teams that I lead, to have this kind of mindset towards all the problems that you listed in the slide. So I think what Matt and Jess do a really great job of is helping you understand, but then also giving you some time to reflect on, all right, how am I going to implement this so that my team is doing this not just on one problem, but on a regular basis. And I think that's an important part to consider when you consider going through the micro-credential next spring.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box. So I'd like to thank you again for a wonderful and informative presentation. Meg, Jess, and Matt, we do appreciate you spending the morning with us.
Thanks so much for having us. This was great. Great meeting everybody.
Yep, thank you. And make sure you participate in that quick poll. It's just a single question, and that will help us to understand the audience better too.
We're doing pretty good on the results so far. So
great.
We'd also like you to be sure to register for a free Southwest Pennsylvania Energy Efficiency Roundtable event coming up. During this roundtable, we're going to be hearing about different incentive programs funding through the Inflation Reduction Act. These incentives can be used to fund new HVAC upgrades and can also be stacked with other energy efficient funding programs, allowing you to take advantage of new efficient equipment and supporting your sustainability goals by reducing the utility consumption and lowering your facility's operating costs. Again, thank you for your time today. I'll be available to answer additional questions after we conclude.